Cover your right eye and read from the top line. E, F, P, T, O, Z. That's it. Now with your glasses. E, D, F, C, Z, P. That's better. 2020. This is Rosh Hashanah 2020. A new year, 2020. A Rosh Hashanah we never expected. We didn't see it coming. 6 months ago, practically to the day, our full staff gathered here in this sanctuary. Our clergy, our administrative and ground staff, our school directors and program staff, all of us. It was Purim 2020. We were dressed in our Purim masquerade, and we had gathered to record and video a song.
We'll be wise, we won't kiss you. Tonight we will miss you. No progress or steel makes us blue. Even though we're away, eat our harvest house today, and we send Purim greetings to you.
6 months apart. Purim and the high holidays. The two holidays facing off at opposite sides of our yearly orbit stand at nearly opposite ends of our own emotional orbit. Purim in the spring, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur in the fall. Purim, a holiday known for its drunkenness, revelry, and masquerade. The high holidays, starting this evening, known for anything but. Many years ago, David and I were interviewing a young student who had applied to our religious school in Southern California. We needed to find out what she already knew about Judaism in order to place her in the appropriate class. "Tell me about a Jewish holiday," David said to her. Well, she said, "Things were going okay for the Jews, and then this evil king arose and tried to wipe us out, but in the last minute, we won." "That's a good start," David said. "Which holiday were you talking about?" "I don't know," she said. "All of them." Surely our young California student didn't have Purim and the high holidays in mind when she said they were all basically the same. And so it is bizarre and intriguing that Hasidic sages, playing on the full name of Yom Kippur, Yom Kippurim, tell us that Yom Kippurim really means Yom, a day, K, like Purim. Yom Kippurim, a day like Purim. In other words, we should make our Yom Kippur a day like Purim. Yom Kippur is the end point of 10 days that begin this evening with the new moon of Rosh Hashanah. 10 days in which we make the commitment to get our vision tested. What have we not seen in our lives? What has been obscured and hidden? What have we neglected? We take our spectacles and turn them inward. 10 days of introspection, insight. 10 days. This year, our high holidays are not 10 days. Our high holidays began in March. They began with Purim. We'll be wise, we won't kiss you. Tonight, we will miss you. It was our silly, fun-filled announcement that we needed to cancel Purim services and the carnival and Purim festivities. Yom Kippurim, the day like Purim, had started, but we didn't know it. Purim masquerade gave way to masks, not one day, but every day. Yes, now every day was Purim. We were all wearing masks. But every day was also like Yom Kippur, like the high holidays. Who will live and who will die? Raw fear. If this is my life, how do I want to live it? What is really important to me? These are the questions of the high holidays, and we've been asking them nearly every day for 6 months. Only now we are asking them together. We will turn these questions into prayer. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person, Oscar Wilde wrote. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth. Our faces may be masked, but some things we're beginning to see more clearly. I'm telling you this, writes poet Mariangela, we needed to stop. We knew it. We all felt it, that it was too furious, our frenzy, being inside of things, outside of ourselves. Squeeze every hour, make it yield. We needed to stop, and we couldn't. We needed to do it together, slow down the race, but we couldn't. Something in us wanted to be opened. Perhaps, I don't know, we must each see ourselves. A common fate holds us here. We knew it, but not well enough. Either all of us or no one. A single organism, to that grasp of a palm in another person's palm, to that simple act we are now forbidden. We will return with expanded awareness. We'll be here more attentive, I think. Our hand will be more delicate in the doing of life, now that we know how sad it is to stand 2 meters apart. That simple act, our palm in another's palm, is forbidden to us all. That is a suffering we all share. We all carry the weight of personal worry and anxiety, but we have not suffered equally in this pandemic. Some have lost income or livelihoods. Many have been ill. Some of us have been hospitalized, and many of us have lost members of our families or close friends to the ravages of this virus. We haven't been able to sit by the bedside of the dying. We haven't been able to bury our loved ones or to be comforted by friends. The suffering is great, and it is likely not over. Sometimes, as suffering peels back layers of the life we have built, it exposes and reveals what has been underneath. Beneath is the quiet and gentle beating of a heart, a vulnerable heart. Over time, our hearts have hardened. We've been too busy to listen to our kids. We rush them off to school or the next play date or soccer practice or did you finish your homework or not now or I have to take this call. We couldn't take the time off from work to have dinner with our wives, our husbands, our partners, our loved ones. Who had time to hear the birds, to notice the flowers, to utter a prayer of hope or despair or gratitude? We were closed to the life around us and in us. The suffering is not a gift. To be peeled back, to be vulnerable, and to see what is exposed underneath, that is a chance, the possibility of a gift. One strange gift of the pandemic, writes another poet, is the awakening of heart chambers I didn't know were asleep. For a brief moment, the first few weeks of the pandemic, I felt the panic of scarcity, the worry of survival. You may remember those days. No toilet paper, no bleach, no Lysol, no yeast, no flour. Could we get milk? And for a brief moment, I could imagine that so many people right around me feel that way all the time. For a moment, the structures of prosperity that support my life peeled back, and I could feel with others. I could feel part of, connected to humanity, not apart. For a moment. And then Amazon kicked back up. In no time, we were back to 2-day delivery. Whatever I dream of, I can find online. And it's here in no time. For a brief moment, my heart could feel with the vulnerability of other hearts. And so my greatest fear with this pandemic is not our suffering. My greatest fear is that our suffering will have been in vain. I fear that when it's over, may it come soon, that we'll be so happy that it's behind us that we'll go back to everything the way it was before, happily. And it wasn't all good before. There is so much for us to learn. There is so much we need to change. There is so much we didn't see before. Our faces are masked, but we are seeing some things more clearly. No, this is not the scroll we need. We need a different measure for our vision. This is the one. We didn't get to hear it this last Purim. We were already hunkering down and shivering inside. It was the time of great trouble in those days, too. A buffoon and incompetent king was in power, whose only interest was living lavishly and who tolerated only adulation from his advisors. He encouraged his government to sow hatred and divisiveness and to denigrate minorities and to target them for persecution. It was in this moment of vulnerability that Mordecai sends a message to Esther, do something. I can't, she says, it could cost my life. Don't think, Mordecai responds, don't think that just because you are in a palace of privilege that you will escape this fate. Who knows, mi yodea? Who knows if maybe you are alive for just this reason? Maybe you, maybe each of us, maybe we are in this place at this time for a reason. The story of Purim calls us to courage. This will be our focus on Yom Kippur Day. The Purim I know and love is also a holiday of joy. To emerge more whole from this pandemic, we will need courage and we will need joy. Shortly after Purim, our New York kids and their kids moved in with us. We were 11 people at home for 5 months until just a few weeks ago. For us, like many of you, it was unexpected, incredible, and intimate time with our children and grandchildren. The early weeks were also a time of fear. Though we had all quarantined for 2 weeks before, we were all worried. What if one person gets sick? Suppose I'm the one to get everyone sick. Does every family need a separate towel in the bathroom? Where do we put the mail? How do we bring in the food? You know, you had the same stuff, same fears, same anxieties. I also remember early on the aggressive affirmation of joy. Joy in the face of fear. Running outside in the rain as the first rays of sunlight were breaking through, sure that we would see a rainbow, and everyone jumping up and down in the still pouring rain, screaming with joy because, yes, there was a rainbow, a double rainbow. Joy in the face of fear. The crazy 24-hour Kol Ami Zoomathon, the aggressive asserting of joy and life. Mira and Dami learning to ride a bike and finishing Harry Potter Volume 1 and Volume 2, and there were lots of months together. Sela mastering the sewing machine, spotting hawks and owls and cardinals, and you saw them too. Joy. We had such limited vision. We were too busy and too preoccupied to see. And then with a jolt and great shuddering, the veil of our preoccupations was lifted, and fear and anxiety peeled back our hardened exterior. Our suffering has exposed us, and we are more vulnerable and more feeling. I fear for us that we will not remember. Edgar Keret, one of Israel's greatest contemporary writers, was featured in a collection of short stories of COVID-19 in a July edition of the New York Times Magazine. The whole amazing story is 500 words. I'm taking the concluding several sentences describing what it might be like as we emerge from this pandemic. Your heart pounds. The air whistles through your lungs and you're not sure if you're going to make it. Near the ATM sits a man wearing dirty clothes, and there's a tin cup next to him. You do remember what you're supposed to do in this situation. You quickly walk past him, and when he tells you in a cracked voice that he hasn't eaten anything in 2 days, you look in the opposite direction, avoiding eye contact, like a pro. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's like riding a bike. The body remembers everything. And the heart that softened while you were alone will harden back up in no time. We are in this together. We have traveled through these months together. And when it is over, we will need to remind each other. We cannot forget that we were afraid, that we were vulnerable, that we fought for joy, that we were able to feel and feel for others. We cannot forget that for a while our hearts were softened. We have walked this path together these past months. I invite you to leave a trail marker on the path. Write or draw the prayer of your heart on one of the prayer flags we have distributed. Bring them back to Kol Ami between Rosh Hashanah and the beginning of Sukkot, October 2nd. Call me, call us if you didn't receive one. We have commissioned an artist, Judy Sorota Rosenthal, to tie our prayers onto ropes of jute and to lift our prayers to the wind in the trees outside our chapel in the woods. They will be there to remind us that once our hearts were softened and that we needed to pray. We cannot forget that once our hearts were softened. I have always loved, often quoted, and never quite understood the Hasidic teaching, there is nothing as whole as a broken heart. Our hearts have been cracked open. We have been given a chance now to become more whole and to live a more feeling, compassionate, joyous, and courageous life. For this, we can wish each other a Shana Tova.